Hello. That's
Hello.
alive. Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year to you. Good, good. Happy New Year, Kevin and Bernat and Gavin.
Yeah, I see Bernard says he likes the music. I actually played that one when I put it on because I've made that one a while ago. I remember I didn't have time to make a new one this week because I've been very lazy and just slowly getting back into things. When I put it on, I remember Bernard said he liked that one last time. So if he joins, maybe you'll like it again. And he did. So fantastic.
I was going to say, I'm going to be disappointed if it wasn't you actually jamming on the guitar to put that together.
Actually, I played all the musical parts there. Yeah, everything. I just put them all together. Yeah.
All the drums, kind of.
Everything.
Was it like a when you see people with the drum on the back and the pedal?
Yeah. I did that.
Kind
I
of,
did it all simultaneously. Yeah, like I'm just a one man band. It's there you go. No, I get that music for free, legally, of course. You understand? Yeah,
Of course, of course.
I would never do anything otherwise. Yeah, thanks for joining, mate. It's the first of the new year, and I've just realised I forgot to put to change my chair, and I have my more wobbly chair, and I don't allow myself to sit on this chair when I talk because I wobble too much and it distracts even me. So sorry, everyone, you got to put up with my
So
wobbling.
why is it does it just feel more funky to?
I'm a very fidgety person.
Right.
So I have to have some element of movement, and somehow it just feels natural to go. I'm the sort of person that back in the days of office, if you sat at a block of desks, I'd be that one person who'd be like shaking their knee constantly, which really annoys everyone.
Oh,
That's
and all the
me.
desks are
Yeah,
connected, so
yeah,
it's like vibrating through.
yeah.
You were that guy, were
I
you?
was that
Ah,
one. I know. I feel terrible
mm,
about it.
yeah.
What are you gonna do? Eh? So
But
I'm here forever, so I'll never go back to the office. So my wobbly knees will never annoy anyone in the office ever again.
yeah, I am actually tempted to try and change this chair because I got this chair, and the problem is it's not it's actually quite a nice chair for doing this. Just kind of
Yeah, sure.
very nice.
Yeah.
Not so good if you're actually working. So now what I'm doing is I'm sort of like hunched over my keyboard, and then after about an hour, I'm like, oh, why can't I move? What's the matter with my back?
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
oh, okay, something's really hurt here.
I can understand that. I also have this issue. I'll notice myself during the streams. My chin gets lower and lower to the bottom, so I have to like
Right, as
adjust
it's kind of
myself.
like sinking down.
Exactly. I just
Yeah,
get so relaxed, and just talk. Anyway, mate, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit so people know who you are, what you do, and all your plethora of certifications and all that?
yeah, a plethora. Actually, I was quite when you said just data warehouse person, it actually, and I tell you what, it did make me laugh because when I set myself up sort of independently, so I'm just contracting at the moment, giving myself fancy labels like independent consultant and all that kind of all that kind of jazz. I got carried away. I honestly, I got carried away with the technology. So SQL data warehouse, well, Synapse Analytics, Azure Data Platform, etc., Power BI, etc., etc., etc. And then, I think one of the sort of BI recruiters just stopped and said, "Look, but what do you do with it? What do you do with it? Okay, fine, but what do you
It's a
do
good
with it?" I'm
question,
like,
right?
"Oh, yeah, you know what? I hadn't thought of that. I build data warehouses." And they're like,
Yeah,
"Right, data warehousing."
yeah.
So I was like, "Yes, here we go. There's the context." As someone building data warehouses, where the primary goal is to build it to give context to data. I hadn't even given context to my own skills.
Yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, myself.
I gotta say, I always I'll Google the person who I'm going to talk to, and I called you data warehouse guy because you did chat already at the start of this year. I forget who it was with. Was it the start of this year? I think it was a few days ago. No. MVP Buzz, and you were in this.
Oh,
I watched this chat.
Christian Buckley. Yeah,
Correct, and I think you referred to yourself as data warehouse guy, and I was like, "That's it. That's what I need.
yeah,
I'll take that.
yeah,
I'll take
yeah,
that
yeah,
quote, and
yeah,
I'm gonna run with it."
yeah.
Because it's difficult to pin people down sometimes as how they see their self. I mean, for me, it's pretty obvious. I literally call myself Power BI guy, so
No, but it is. You know what? It's absolutely it's spot on the money because so like Power BI, obviously, yes, I work with Power BI. I work with it every day. Okay. But two things about me and Power BI. Number one, if anyone asks me anything complex about DAX, I run away and hide. And honestly, it's not a humble brag. It's like I know the same amount of DAX, maybe a little bit more now as I did, I think 10 years ago when SQL Server 2012 was released with Tabular, which was like a game changer. We couldn't wait to use it. So that's number one. Number two, if anything is required from a fancy visual perspective, so for example, I was watching Patrick on Guy in a Cube today going through creating a pop-up, using bookmarks, so you can sort of click a button and you get a pop. And oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'll never use it because I'll have to keep going back to it, referring back to it. I tell you what, the one thing that I can pull out of the bag is a tooltip.
Okay.
So someone asked me the other day, that thing you did where a little mini chart popped up when you hovered over something. How do you do that?
I love
it. There's my little thing I can pull out of my bag. But it is because, especially in the Power BI community, is a lot of people for a lot of different areas within Power BI. Like SQL BI guys, it's there's a lot of DAX in there. And it's because it's such a big area. I mean, at the moment, I'm working a lot with deciding whether for a project, whether to go with Azure Analysis Services in terms of a migration from what's happening, on premise, or whether Power BI Premium. And I think in a couple of weeks' time, I was reading some of the documentation. A couple of weeks' time, everybody's now going to be on Gen 2 of Power BI Premium.
It's pretty cool.
Which is excellent. Whether really, don't have to use analysis services if the models are not that big. If they're a handful of gig, could be a case. Yeah. So that's so I love sort of going through those sorts of questions and that sort of workload in Power BI and data flows as well. I'm obviously a massive fan of data flows.
Of course.
Just to bring, even if you have a data warehouse, there's always going to be a time when you're going to need to bring in other data that's not going through the warehouse at that time.
Yeah. I just going back to the whole premium thing. I kind of wish that if I ever get to use premium, I would like to not be Gen 2 first. I'd like to be Gen 1 first because I never got to use it, so I want to experience the difference. I want to not, I want to experience that level up. So maybe one day if I get to use premium, I'll say, can you just give me the older version first, and then so I see the difference there. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I literally asked, the Power BI admin, is the Power BI Premium tenant on P2? Sorry, not on P2. On Gen 2 yet? Is it still on Gen 1? I'd like to see that difference because all the videos, everyone is as Gavin said, Chris Wagner, videos of like, oh wow, Gen 2 is amazing. You enable it, it's going to be blazing fast, and you think, I'd love to do. I need to do comparisons. I can't just say, oh, it's faster. I want to see, those data sets refreshing.
You experience that wow factor.
Yeah, I want to see, a 15-minute data flow go down to 15 seconds.
Right, exactly.
It might do. It might not do. It depends on how rubbish my M is behind the.
I'm sure M is wonderful.
Behind the data set itself.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Things updating, upgrading. I spend at the start of most years, or every now and then, but definitely at the start of the year, I'll kind of go through old reports and workspaces and to see what needs to be cleaned up, where we can just, as you should do, to get rid of the old stuff and the non-used stuff. And I was on a workspace today, and I was like, "What's this button at the top?" I was like, "It says you need to update this workspace. And I was like, this workspace has not been updated. We're still using the old version of the workspace. And I was like, that's impressive. I hadn't seen that in quite a while, to be honest. So some sound issues. From whom? From both of us? Or I'm not sure if someone else can confirm that they're experiencing sound issues. Maybe just
I
from
tell you what,
me.
Bernat, if it's echoing, I'll put my headphones on. Because I've got the microphone, I've got speakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had this issue once when I also had YouTube open, so I was kind of watching it at the same time. I'm not sure. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah. The no, there's no echoing apparently. No
Okay.
echo. So we're all
Fair
good
enough.
to go in terms of the echo.
All
Maybe
right.
maybe I'm too loud.
Problem solving ad hoc here. No sound issues. It went away. Okay, it was
Yeah.
probably. I use Restream, so we'll just blame Restream. It's been fantastic so far, other than the time it kicked me out. But that was more like my web speed. But that's what you're gonna do.
Exactly. Kevin, I said the exact same thing a few days ago in terms of some data flow refreshing. It kept timing out, and then it just worked. So I just said the problem went away. I
That
think
is
it was.
the
I think it was
yeah
to do with the source, nothing to do with my beautifully
yeah.
created or
It
curated data flows. It's all to do with your messy SQL service.
let's just call it was a transient issue,
Oh, yeah, transient issue.
which has no meaning. A transient issue just means press the refresh button a few more times and it'll probably work. And if it doesn't, then you can contact someone. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's a transient
Yeah,
issue.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But yeah. On that, yeah. But yeah. So well, yeah. Going back to me quickly. Yeah. So it's just
it's back to you, man.
you know, yeah. My profile was, I was basically permanent for years and years and years. Microsoft BI stack.
Mm.
Integration services, analysis services, reporting services. Everybody puts that on their CV when they're a BI developer, but you're always focused more on one thing. So for me, it was always integration services. It was always the ETL. So I could
Yeah. Okay.
create cubes, but then but again, going back to the DAX issue, if anyone asked me to do anything complicated with MDX, you'd have this brief sort of intense period of like, okay, so I traverse the hierarchy and then do that. Okay, and then get back. Okay, I think they're your results. I'm pretty sure. I hope that these are your correct financial statements. That's why when Tabular came along in SQL 2012, I couldn't wait because I
Yeah.
was told DAX is a simpler language.
I think it is. Is it not? I mean,
I,
MDX is.
I can do more with less knowledge. I'll
Yeah.
say that. Yeah, I can do more with less knowledge, and you don't have to do this hierarchical traversal that I remember. I just never understood in MDX. If I'm honest.
I I don't people who are good at X because I just consider it witchcraft, which is why when I watch Kreb work, I
Yes.
think he's probably sold his soul to at least 15 devils to get that level. It's like and he does it. I was watching. He was doing it live, and I'm like, what is going on here? I don't know anyone who doesn't roll their eyes when someone mentions MDX because it's not nice. It's no fun to work with MDX.
No. It was no fun. No fun at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, I sort of I keep as little of my work in DAX as possible, but without compromising anything. So, for
Yeah.
example, I'm not going to put like horrible SQL queries together just so that I don't have to do any DAX. It's like, no. If I have to, if something has to be changed through context, DAX, I will swallow my inability and I will just get on and get it done.
Yeah.
But what I do quite like is at the moment is all of the talk around star schemas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, honestly, because I mean, I think it's been
I
like,
love it.
yeah, yesterday. It was 5 days into the new year, and I already had to crack open the Kimball dimensional modeling book when I had
Don't know this. Okay.
I was asking myself a question about about a fact type. And like now, discussions around best practices in Power BI, and created a nice data model, and the star schema. It's like, I'm not saying it's born again, because it never went away, but like creating a star schema, it was all a dimensional model. It was always the domain of like the data warehouse developer. But like, in my opinion, I mean, maybe not true, but now it's almost like democratized. So people who are building Power BI models, are getting this, getting their knowledge around
the decentralization of data modeling. It's data modeling 3.0. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Doing a web 3.0.
Is it? No, it's just data 3.
Data 3. Okay.
Data 3. Decentralized responsibility of that's a data mesh, isn't it? I think.
But it's the star schema, all the things, right? This is what people say. Star schema, all the things.
Yeah.
I've heard people say this, and I don't know where it comes from, but yeah, it's true. It's actually, star schema is the only best practice that I will care about adhering to, because I think like 98% of best practices are just people like saying, I think that's the best way. There's no real say. It's just like, it is a good way, but there's a really focus on best practices. But really, there's no one there who's going to argue against a star schema. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, because the one thing that it does is the process of creating that star schema. You have to go through several steps to get there, right? It's like, what's the business process that you want to measure? I'll get my hand into there. You go. What do you want to measure in terms of your facts? How do you want to measure it in terms of your dimensions? What's the granularity? It's like the standard data warehousing stuff, but now everybody can work through that process with whoever they're trying to deliver to with that modeling in Power BI. So it's like, yes, it's you're doing something technical, but to get there, you have to do the process to it as well. That's the thing that I like.
Interesting.
Yeah, because when I sit there and work through, what do you want to measure? How do you want to measure it? And we start to build up this picture of what's going where, and you can actually see people. It doesn't matter who it is, a finance person or a marketing person or a salesperson. Then they, their eyes light up and they're like, oh, okay, so we can then measure that by that, and then are we able to link those two together? And we say yes, if we can get these two pieces of data linked. Yeah, so I just enjoy the process, and it's really, really good to see that the discussions is still going, because when big data technology came along, Hadoop, I'd even say things like Redshift and Synapse itself, sort of massively parallel processing databases. Everyone said, well, Kimball, that's all dead. Yeah, because you want it all in one big flat table because it's going to be compressed. And you just think, well, actually, no, it's even more relevant than ever, because if you've got massive amounts of data, then there's probably only a small amount of it is actually reference data. The rest is all your transactions and activity that you want to bring context to. So yeah, it's just I'm going to stop being enthusiastic about the star schema now, because
if you want to enthuse about the star schema, you go for it, mate. I have one thing that I had in my head from the start, actually, before we start this conversation, because I was looking at your website. So I want to ask this question: why is your website, and there's a reason I'm asking this question, why is it called Data High?
It's a good question.
Because the reason I ask is because, did you know that high in German means shark? So when I think of you, I always think of you as a data shark, because HAI is high is a shark.
See, now I want it to be Data Shark.
Data shark would be cool.
Data Shark.
Like if your website in German would be literally, people would read it as Data Shark.
You know why?
Cool.
Because like I think in anyone who works in data that sort of sets up their own domain or blog or something like that, they sit there and they go data Andy, data slice, no, data tech, No, data. Do you see what I mean? Honestly, all day, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, I spent data. My wife was
That's
just like,
class.
pick one.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh, data high, data high,
I love
data,
it.
yeah, data high, HAI, data high.
Yeah.
There you go. And that's
You've
it. And
picked
then, got the
you've picked a
domain and
really cool German name. Less cool in Japanese apparently. But yeah,
yeah. Well, no, Kerry raises a good point about the whole sort of branding. I mean,
exactly.
in some ways, it was kind of sort of taken away from me a little bit, because it was like it's all part of like registering a company name and all that kind of thing. So it's like it's kind of its own separate entity. And then I was like, well, I want to create a blog. So instead of using my own name as a domain, I'll just use the blog on the website. Rather than like Andy Cutler. But then of course it's really all I am on that website.
I don't know why for the first couple of years I was so like focused on not using at all my name. Like I still don't use my name, and I don't have my picture, of course, on my Twitter and stuff. But I just didn't particularly want to. I like the way Carrie just said, like, just couldn't be bothered. That's a very, very reasonable. I just couldn't be bothered. I use my own name. I don't know why, but for me, it just was. I don't know, maybe more fun to come up with something. But actually, if you think about like the creation of websites or company names, what always makes me laugh is I have a few friends who like photographers and stuff. They just use their name and then put photography on the end. Photographer, it'd be like Ben Ferry Photography. Photographers, they do it soft, just kind of like first name, surname.
Yeah, because
It's
it's like
so much.
it's like it's in and of itself. It's your branding, and also do I want what I'm doing to grow? I mean, I look at advancing analytics. Terry McCann and Simon Whiteley. And I mean, those guys are just absolutely just blazing it at the moment. In terms of company growth and that sort of thing. So they've got their branding really good. But who I really like is Johnny, Grayscale Analytics.
It's that second, like Grace. I have the power. Okay, cool. I like that. I like kind of get that like straight away. You kind of feel, or maybe I'm just mentally slow, but I kind of felt like Grayscale. I have the power. Okay, cool. I like it straight away. Yeah. The very cool.
But yeah. So it was, because initially I just thought, well, is it his company or something? But then it was just like, no, it's just this like this presence that I just think the branding is really awesome. And actually, when he did release some merchandise, I did buy a ticket. I did buy a sticker. I had to buy a sticker for the laptop. Yeah, I think unfortunately you're frozen on my screen, Ben.
Am I really? That's interesting.
I don't know if am I frozen too?
My connection is good. Am I on a VPN? I'm not on a VPN.
Yeah. Can hear you. You look very peaceful. If it makes any difference.
Before that, just like got kicked off. If I get kicked off, but I'll just disable my camera and it'll come back on again. I'm not sure. I mean, there's not a lot of that to be honest. So you can keep that. Yeah. But it seems off. Not
It'll be all that. Yeah, I do. Honestly, I do roll with the star schema as well. I think it's just it's something like I said, like my work with Power BI, is I see. I honestly, I see so many people doing so many clever things with calculations and things like calculation groups. I haven't really got started, using calculation groups yet. I should. But just that that process, that going through that process of modeling, I really enjoy it. Working, especially working with people to work through what do they want to measure? How do they want to measure it? No, I do like that. Yeah, hashtag call me. Yeah, I actually, to be honest with you, I've been reading some of your blog posts on calculation groups. To be honest, they're all in my saved list of things to go through. What was annoying, I was thinking, oh yeah, I've got something that would require calculation groups, but then the thing that I was working on was on-premise tabular. So it didn't, and it doesn't have calculation groups or SQL Server 2016. Whereas my favorite place to have transformation logic. Well,
Can you hear me, by the way? Am I still here? Oh my god.
Oh, you're back, but I think you're frozen again. Oh, you're there. But like I said before, to get to shape the data into the format in which it can then be given context, ETL, always, or ELT, whichever way around you want to do it, but getting the data, nice and shaped into its proper domain. And then when we're talking about transformation, is that taking data and completely reshaping it within Power BI, or is it transforming it in terms of relabeling it or something like that? I think that's the thing that I would yeah. I think that probably once we move all of the data sources onto in which we could control all the source data, we could probably transform it and then extract it and load it. But TEL, that's probably, there's going to be a new vendor, surely there's going to be a new vendor. No, maybe DataShark will come up with a cloud tool that does TEL. Maybe TEL is for the data mesh. You never know. But yeah. So, well, I mean, I know I do a lot of Power BI interaction with Synapse Analytics and serverless SQL pools. I think something that kicked off recently was all the direct query conversations. They kind of rise up again because when Microsoft sort of put the documentation together for Synapse and serverless SQL pools, they put some, they put 3 workload types together. And, one of those, the logical data warehouse, where keep all your data in the data lake, keep all your data at the source. I mean, when we talk about source, at the moment, it only supports the data lake or Azure storage. Exporting data from the Dataverse or Cosmos DB using, the private link. But then the age-old question again of connecting Power BI in direct query to the, to serverless SQL pools and having fun. Yeah, it's the same, the same considerations, concurrency, hit again. So, we're doing a lot of work to look at ways of optimizing Power BI's usage with Synapse Analytics. So there's a few things recently that I've looked at and been working on. So hybrid tables. So I'm still kind of deep diving into hybrid tables and what's happening with the partitioning under the scenes. And the next thing on my list are the automatic aggregations. Now, I know it only supports, I think it's like dedicated SQL pools, which kind of makes sense. You know, the SQL data warehouse service. Was it Oracle? A couple of Azure SQL database. And what I wanted to dive in and see what's happening when it's creating these automatic aggregations, because up front defining your manual aggregations before it defaults to direct query is fine, but then you can't ever really tell what people are going to be doing with those reports. And even when I was clicking around my test report, it was picking up 3 or 4 automatic or aggregations that it was refreshing every day. So I want to dive in. I want to dive into those automatic aggregations at some point and see how it fits in with your day-to-day job within Power BI. If you know, work with your local friendly data engineer or data warehouse person and say, well, look, if we switch on automatic aggregations, we can see what's, you know, what are people most, you know, what are people doing the most. The only complication that I saw in the documentation was you have to connect up log analytics. So I don't know whether anyone in the chat has set up log analytics with Power BI, because I think you have to kind of look at that to get under the bonnet and see, well, what's it actually doing in terms of these aggregations. Oh, Kerry, sorry. Well, yeah, so 2 things. So answering questions, I'm quite bad at answering questions on the Power BI community site itself, because I'm going to be honest, I go back to my previous 2 points of DAX, which they're the most questions, aren't they? I think they're the questions that get asked the most. It will be something sort of DAX related, but the thing is that I kick myself because I started working with, well, what is now Synapse Analytics, but Azure SQL Data Warehouse Gen 1 in 2006. Sorry, 2016, not 2006, 2016. And we were kind of at the coalface in terms of doing a migration project. So we were all understanding data distribution, how Power BI works with it as well. So, for example, we were trying to plug Power BI in direct query, thinking that we were really clever and that, you know, we've got this big data warehouse, big powerful data warehouse service. We're plugging Power BI in direct query, and nothing, you know, nothing's finishing. Visuals are just spinning. And it's like, okay, so we've got concurrency issues dependent on, you know, the size. We went through all of this pain, and it didn't occur to me to blog. It didn't occur to me to take that and dump it out and say, oh, we've just had an issue today in which we had a big load of data and we had to optimize it for a certain query pattern, and we had to load it this way and distribute it this way. And this is what we did to pre-aggregate it for Power BI. You know, none of that. And then, yeah, it's really just in the last 18 months, all part of being independent. It just switched on, and I was like, well, I should blog, because I'm also building up that body of knowledge as well, aren't you? So everyone here who's kind of blogging, you can refer back to your own blogs. What was it? Oh, I did something about private endpoints, and because it was, I've got this little voice in my head that keeps on talking about security. How do you secure it? How do you make sure that no one else can get into your data warehouse? And I keep referring back to that same blog post. I'm like, how did I do that thing again?
I like when people say that, because I do it quite often. There's like 3 of my videos that I'll watch myself. I'm like, how did that work? And I go back to it and I was like, is it only me who does this? So I've heard this from a few people, and it makes me feel better, because it's a weird thing to kind of watch yourself or read yourself to realize how you actually did something while showing other people how to do it. It's quite strange.
But that was the thing. And someone asked me a question about the motivation for blogging. It's like how do you keep being motivated to blog? And I mean, like, number one, I really have only been doing it for 15, 16 months.
It's a good while though.
When you've got, well, you mentioned Chris Webb. I think he celebrated 17 years.
I saw that. It's crazy.
I mean, it's incredible. And I think there's a certain amount of selfishness to do with the motivation, is that first and foremost, you need to do it for yourself. It needs to be for you, so you can build up so all the blog posts I've done, I mean, basically they're like documentation for me. And investigating the well-architected framework with Synapse, or how a Power BI feature works with Synapse, something like that. It's just like, well, they're just lists of things that I can kind of refer to, and then you can click that button to say, well, yeah, this is good to go for other people to get some advantage from. Because then if you do, and it's and it happens to everyone, when you get into a bit of a lull and you think, oh, what do I, what should I blog about? What do people want to hear or see? It's like, well, no, don't do that. Like, do the thing that you want to do.
Absolutely.
And then that will drive you.
One of the things, the challenges that I found, I mean, I think like most people, I don't do as many videos as I want to do, time-wise, all that kind of stuff. But a few weeks ago, I spoke to Oz, and I think Oz du Soleil, it was really good timing for me, because I was getting that point where I was starting to look at these like videos as to how to increase your audience and how to all that kind of stuff. And I really didn't care that much. And I was like, is it like an issue? And also like, yeah, I just do it. I do it because I do it for myself, and my channel grew really slowly. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's to like really not lose track of the point of what you're trying to do. And I just make videos about what I enjoy. And quite often I think to myself, but what's the point of making this video? Because someone else has already done it, or everyone's going to know this anyway. But I mean, if that was the case, literally it'd be like 2 channels, to be 2 blogs. It doesn't matter if someone has already done it. It doesn't matter if you think everyone already knows it. I think it was yesterday, Ed Hansberry, he posted on Twitter that he never realized that if you right click in the PBX, that you get the list of the pages. And I always find it really interesting that things that people who have a huge amount of experience with Power BI still don't know, because they've never clicked there, they've never seen it, they've missed that article, and never kind of popped up on a timeline. So just to do things because you enjoy them is like literally the only motivation that I can really live with, to be honest, because the rest, it just becomes not fun. And
I think, I mean, I love the little tips and tricks blogs. The very, very easily digestible. Oh, did you know? There's this little option to do that, and you're like, oh, okay, you know what? That has actually made today better. That I now know how to do that little tip. That little tip, that little trick.
For sure.
But
it's wrong. PBX, not PBX.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So PBIX. Do you know what? I still call it the desktop. I still call it the desktop file. It's like the desktop file. The Power BI desktop file. It's like, I think I need to choose a side. PBIX. I do like PBIX.
Thank you very much. If I can influence you, that makes me happy. And I'm going
to let it roll around, though.
Thank you so much, Kerry.
If I say that now to the people that I'm working with, they'll say, what? And I'm like, the desktop file, the PBIX. So I'll go back to saying the desktop file or the PBIX.
It's just faster. Whatever's faster, I'll say that. Because there's a question, so like, does that mean an Excel file or is an XLSX? I'm like, no, it's just an Excel file, man. Yeah. If it's fast to say, and if I can say PBIX faster than I can say PBIX, then I will say it.
But it's like one of those things where it's like, it's a zip file, I've done that so many times. I've taken a copy, renamed it to zip, opened it up to see if I can make sense of something. I don't know, some something in the definition, something in the definition file or something like that has been useful to get hold of. But what I was going to ask, Ben, is have you got any sort of Power BI learning goals this year?
It's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I want to. I mean, I need to finish, or even get even better, close to started on the tabular editor course.
The Mastering Tabular course.
Yeah, I've done a shockingly small percentage. I need to allocate actual learning time, because tends to be how I learn is just by people asking me questions, or why does this not work, or how do you do this? But I dedicate very little actually time to sit down and learn for myself. So tablet editor course for one, for sure. I actually want, one of my main learning goals is actually to more on the Azure side, because my knowledge is very, very limited there, to the extent that if someone says do something with Azure, I'm like, and I'm closing that page, because I just don't have that knowledge. So that's actually one of my main goals, to be honest. Power BI learning side, it's really for me just. Actually, it's interesting you asked that, because I was thinking a few weeks ago, when people ask you, like, quite often, or what you do for your job and how you do your job, quite often this is like really kind of like jocose response, which is, I have to do my job. You got to learn how to Google, you got to learn how to copy and paste and all that kind of stuff. And I actually do give this answer quite often as a joke, but then it becomes part of the way you respond to the question. And I don't want to do that anymore. Not because I want people to think, oh, I like work so hard, simply because the fact that I realize that it's constant learning. Every single like day, it's putting in effort to read that article, to read that feature, to understand, as you said before, about calculation groups, how these work. Calculation groups was like the biggest thing of was it last year that it became kind of, for me, the kind of really, not last year, the year before, but whatever, the past, like, whatever, say year and a half, they really kind of popped to the forefront. And so yeah, and for that, I want to get, I really want to improve my knowledge of this Vega with Deneb, which I've been using quite a lot, because I think that's going to be pretty big this year. It's kind of been creeping up, and Kerry's been obviously doing awesome work on that, and I want to kind of be able to use that a lot better than I already do. And it's also nice because it's like I enjoy Linux things, like having like a new hobby, or coming across something and just like learn it. It's very, you have to really go out of your way to learn a new skill. And with the stuff with the Vega, I think that's quite cool to kind of bring that into my work and kind of see how I can improve upon reports and all that kind of stuff. So that was a very long answer to the question, but what are you going to do? Jeff's not here to stop you from rambling. So
no. I mean, like, yeah. So to point that. So that's the Mastering Tabular course. So yeah, I got that as well. I think it was Black Friday, and I mean, I've done some of their courses in the past, and you know what, they're brilliant. They know their stuff. They know how to present as well. It is fun seeing them interacting as well. But that tabular course, it's big.
It is.
It's tens and tens and tens of hours, and
hefty.
it's not tens of hours that you'll just sequentially watch, and that's it. Oh, I've watched the 30 hours. I'm an expert now, right? Like, no, that 30 hours is going to take 150 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're gonna have to stop, validate, make some notes, download the test resources. It's big, it's comprehensive. I'm gonna be going through this for the next few months.
Yeah.
I mean, my own learning, again, it's another year and another opportunity for me to say, hey, I'm gonna learn Python. And then I bet you December the 31st, 1 minute to midnight, someone can message me and say, did you learn any Python? And I'll be like, I think I did the same data frame stuff that I copied and pasted. But I tell you, I've just the library of Microsoft official documentation stuff from Docs.
Mm.
The stuff I've got listed to go through, even that in itself,
Mm.
I don't think I'm going to get through
Yeah.
get through what I need to get through, regardless of anything that I want to do on a plural site, or
Mm.
LinkedIn Learning, or or something different. So
But for
yeah,
me though, I don't, just me personally though, I don't see any point in learning something that I know I don't have a use case for.
yeah,
It's just not going to get remembered. Because I did the same thing with Python a couple of years ago, and I
yeah,
haven't had I mean, you could also argue that if you know it, then you know where the needs are. But I think to go in with at least one actual use case, one require need, makes it, so for me, so much, or impossible actually
yeah.
to
You go
learn.
probably go back to the MDX and DAX thing.
Yeah,
You just got to keep using it. You got to keep
yeah,
doing it,
mm,
and then it'll go into long-term memory.
yeah.
But yeah, so I think actually, I've made my peace with Python. I think me
Okay.
and Python, we've shook hands.
Mm,
Um, we've said, it's not me, it's you,
mm.
and that's it really. And I think
That's
I
very
might,
reasonable. Yeah, an
yeah,
amicable
yeah.
breakup is, it's always a good way to
We
go.
did have a little bit of a cry.
Yeah.
Python did say, "Well, look at all the awesome things you can do in Spark," and I
Mm.
just said, "Yeah, but it's more things to learn on top of an already burgeoning." Uh, you know, that's
Yeah.
why I tell you what, and that's why I've done so much stuff that I've done with serverless SQL pools. Is that, hey, I can do all this crunching of data in a data lake with SQL. I'm happy.
Mm,
I'm happy
mm.
now.
I want to. We've kind of gone over this. I always do this scheduled 45 minutes and
Oh
stuff,
yeah,
which is no. I mean, for me, it's fine. I don't care. But just let you know. I think though we would be doing our chat a disservice if we didn't at all at once mention Mario Kart, just because we've mentioned it a few times when we spoke, and then and Twitter. Um, maybe we just mentioned it for the sake of the fact that we said we would speak about it, and I think it's because I think I have on my website something about loving Mario Kart, that
yeah,
it's
yeah. You've
there.
got it on your About You.
Because for
Yeah.
me, it is the best computer game of all time. Like
It's up there. I'll give you
it's
that. It's up there. And controversially, it's one
mm,
of a very, very few um, franchises that have existed. Well, what's it existed now? Like 30 years, where I can't really go back to the original on the
yeah,
Super Nintendo.
yeah. That's
It's
a fair
like
point.
it's got to the stage now with like the one on the Switch is, it's like definitive. It's got
It's
all
amazing.
the drifting mechanics. It's just like
It has exactly the drift in it.
it's the peak. And my I have two daughters, 4 and, well, one, and the eldest has just turned 7. And
Mm,
if you put auto steering on, they'll have a whale of a time.
yeah,
And to be honest with
yeah,
you, I think there's been a few times where, I've noticed it's been on auto steering for me, and I've just been like, yeah, I'm having fun. And
yeah.
then, you
But
know,
sometimes though, the auto steering can make it hard because if you want to like do a shortcut or something, it doesn't let you.
it tries to
But
put you back on.
yeah,
Yeah,
but the thing is, Mike, it's the fact that there's never been a bad one. Like there's never been a bad Mario Kart. If most game franchises, you'll find one bad release, they'll be like, or whatever,
I
pick
think
it.
the GameCube one, I think that
Okay,
kind of passed me by a little bit.
that's
Was it
fair. I
called
never
Double
actually owned a
Double Dash or
GameCube.
something? it, the GameCube as a whole, it did kind of pass me by a little bit. I think it was just at the point in time I
Hmm.
just kind of gone off playing games, so I didn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't really remember that one.
yeah.
But we got the well, they call it the live Mario Kart, which I've got it. I'm not going to
Ah,
get it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's over there, which is like the little go kart,
The
but then you put the gates together
I've
around
seen
in the
that.
room. You draw the track, so you've got the switch as the controller with the
Yeah.
screen that's the camera,
Hmm.
and then you drive it around and create the track, and
Amazing.
then you just race around the track, and that has got
Hmm.
auto steering as well. So like,
Really?
Yeah, honestly, just because it's, you know,
Amazing.
because it's like augmented AR, isn't it? Augmented reality. So it's got the borders of the track, and obviously the camera recognizes those borders and
That's
just
pretty
keeps the
cool.
go-kart in the middle. So yeah, so like the youngest is like squealing and running around the go-kart, while the elder one is kind of just
Yeah.
holding the button and steering around, and you know, letting shells loose, you know, and
Amazing.
mushrooms left, right, and
Yeah.
centre. And it's, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we had a whale of a time over Christmas with it.
That's great. I think I looked at that. The only thing that prevented me from getting it was the dog. So I thought, with the dog, that might be a bit excessive.
Oh,
We could lock him in a different room, but it seemed a bit harsh. It did look cool
yeah,
though.
yeah.
I read I think I was on a Reddit or something a year or so ago, and this person wrote, and it's so true. Half of the pleasure of Mario Kart is the rage. I'm like, that is really accurate because there is so much when the rage you feel when you play Mario Kart because you're first and then you get absolutely pummeled by
The blue
Shell,
shell.
Blue Shell, and then other like five other like random things that just hit you, hit you, hit you, hit you. It's rage, man. But it's sorry, it's a
Sometimes
first.
it's like if you play. I'm not really much of a online. I
Okay.
just because there's like a million people like so much better at any game that I ever have and
Mm.
I've ever played, and it's just you know, unless it's a closed group of friends, there's
Yeah.
no fun whatsoever in just
Yeah.
getting beaten mercilessly. But that is Mario Kart is one game where it doesn't matter how good you are,
Yeah.
you can be got.
That's true.
You know, so someone could be first all the way around, and on that
Mm.
last corner, you know, someone can just sneak in a shell, and that's it. They'll be last.
Yeah,
um
it's true.
but yeah, it's just and consistently you just go back to it. You can just go
Yeah.
back to that game, play it, and
Mm.
it's just timeless.
Yeah. Just on the subject of game, I recently discovered this Google Stadia or Stadia. I'm not sure you pronounce it.
Yeah, Stadia, I
Stadia.
think.
I really like it, and I think it's because I get the impression it's for people of like my demographic, which is people who are my age group would have kids and just have the time to game every now and then, so you don't get absolutely destroyed by like some random 14-year-old, or you don't have to be worried that you're going to enter a group chat with like a bunch of very young people. It's actually really good, and I
I
found
think
it.
I think yeah, I think it
It's
is
really good.
because the barrier, you know, basically the barrier to entry of buying that is
Hmm.
pretty cheap, and it's a
It's very cheap.
subscription
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
Like I don't have the new Xboxes or PlayStations because wow, they
Yeah.
are expensive.
They are. Yeah.
They, you know, it's bordering on £500,
Mm.
and that, you know, and for someone who's just like, yeah, I just want to kind of have a controller and just play
Yeah.
something for 5 minutes, or the kids to muck about on something for a few minutes,
Mm.
you're not going to drop 500 quid on something.
It's
Um,
because I think it's because the amount of time that you have to play as well. Because I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh yeah, it's very expensive, but then I'm thinking, I just like
you
last
wouldn't
week
use it.
decide, yeah, exactly, I'd use it like so, and but like just
Yeah,
last week I'm like, I think I'll buy a 3D printer, so I bought a 3D printer. So I will like drop money on like random stuff that's pretty expensive, but it's because you're going to use it, not the amount of time that warrants that like massive output of the initial whatever you say, like 500 euros or whatever it is. It's crazy.
exactly. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
tempted with a 3D printer.
it's cool.
Um, because of like, you know, various things like stands and cases and all these little things where, you know, I buy a few bits and pieces off Etsy, you know, kind of custom made
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you know,
Mm.
I want to make it myself. And then I just think, oh, you know what? No, Andy, don't buy a 3D printer. Just give someone else some money and you'll get the thing and it'll all be good and it'll all be made for you and you don't have to worry about it.
I'm gonna
So
be the
yeah.
devil on your shoulder and say get a 3D printer because it's such good fun. Oh man. Anyway, yeah. Thank you for discussing Mario Kart as well. I appreciate it. I apologize for that. I had that like whatever 5, 7, 10 minutes where I was not present because of my weird internet connection. I'm not sure what went on there, but I appreciate you carrying on and talking how you spoke. That was very helpful.
No,
Yes.
I just went
Beautiful.
straight back to straight
Nice.
back to Star Scheme and all the things.
Well, it's a classic fallback, right? Um, Good job. But I somehow came back, so thank you very much. But thank you very much for joining me. I really enjoyed the chat. As
No, thanks for
always, it
inviting me,
was
Ben.
good
It's been
fun.
you know what, honestly, it's been a great been a great series so
Oh,
far.
thank you very much, mate. Yeah,
You know,
I've
and you've
really
got
good fun.
you've got you've got Nikolai turning up. You've got
Yeah,
Data Mozart. You know,
yeah. I got some. It's. I mean, I enjoy them because I say this quite often. But everyone, each one is different because everyone brings like it's really interesting. They have their own unique way of working, things that interest them. So I really enjoy everyone that I speak to is always really good fun. But yes,
yeah, I know they're
I've got
fantastic.
Nikolai, and I'm speaking to him, and actually in February I'm also speaking to Chris Webb, which would be quite cool as well. So
That will
I can
be.
I will tell him that I think he indulges in witchcraft because of his MDX skills. Yeah,
Yeah, and try and tease some new Power BI stuff out of him.
yeah,
You know,
I will.
let's see what's coming.
Yeah, I'll basically try and get any information that I can out of him.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. It's
Thank you,
been
everyone.
really good fun. Thank you for all the questions and stuff. And I shall see you all hopefully next Thursday at pretty much the same time, I think. Yeah.